Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here coming to you live from Mesa in Arizona. How has your Magic Monday been? Has it been as super and fantastic and sparkling as mine? Oh my gosh, what an incredible day we've had. So we started the day off with our call this morning. We had our training session this morning. Um, but before I actually have to, what do we do? Yeah, so I did my got my I actually woke up before the alarm clock went off this morning, which I love it when that happens. Um, so I woke up before the alarm clock went off this morning, bounced out of bed like I normally do, got it made, um, got showered, dressed, got Zeffy on a leash. We went for a walk. We came back, we had breakfast, we got a whole bunch of stuff done. We got the shopping list done, ready to go. Had our morning training session that we do at 8 o'clock. Sorry, 9 o'clock every morning. It's 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I got to remember I'm on Mountain Time now. Um, and then as soon as that was over, went in, boom, 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 sent off the shopping list. We're using Instacart right now, um, and so she shop. So we sent the shopping list in, went onto the app, put it all in and all that. Um, Less than an hour later, my groceries had been delivered. I was sort of like, I had actually had the first time I'd had a guy do my shopping for me today, and I said to him when he called me as he got to the gate of the RV park, so I was able to give him directions on how to get here. He pulls up, and I said to him, I says, "Thank you so much." I said, you were fast. I said, it's been just on an hour since I put my order in. I said, "Thank you so much for getting that done so quickly. I appreciate it." And he said, "Well, and he says to me, he goes, your time is valuable." He said, "I don't want you waiting around on me while I'm doing your grocery shopping," because he just basically zoomed around the market because he would send me things going, "This is out of stock. Is this okay for replacement?" And you just bang back the thing going, "Yes, that's okay. No, don't worry about it." So there was a couple of things that I knew probably weren't going to be in stock anyway, and they weren't. So, and it was just sort of like, well, if they're in stock, we'll have it. If not, then we weren't supposed to have it. But I thanked him for that, and his response was, "Well, your time's valuable." He said, I don't. He said, "We just got to get in there and get it done, and because your time is valuable." And I'm like sitting here thinking, I was getting so much stuff done while he was doing my grocery shopping for me. I thought, well, he's already saving me time because they've got a 2 hour delivery window from when I place the order to when the order arrives is 2 hours. So I wasn't expecting it to be here till closer to like but after 11:30, and he arrived just under an hour since I hit the submit button. I was just like, but I was so appreciative of the fact that he was conscious of the fact that when he's doing grocery shopping, when he picks up these lists and does the grocery shopping, there's times he's got to make substitutions, and so he doesn't want to drag out that shopping process. So it was kind of cool. I just loved his attitude and everything else. So I was very appreciative of the fact. So groceries got bought in and put away, and of course, Zeffy's at the screen going scratch, 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 trying to get to this guy, and he's out there, and we had the screen door open, and he was putting the stuff out. I said, "Just put the stuff out there on the chairs, and once you're gone, I'll come out and get them." And he's like, "Okay." Um, and but Zeffy's there at the screen, she's like, "Huh, huh." And then and so just after he left, a few minutes after he left, about we had just finished bringing all the groceries in, and I put Zeffy out on the leash and put her out there with her ball today instead of her Kong. She's like chasing that ball all over the thing. She whacks it, and it goes flying down the side and into the middle of the road out there. And then she stands there and looks at it, and looks at me, and looks back at the ball and says, "So, are you going to go get it?" And so we played a little bit with the ball and stuff out there and all of that. But just after we finished getting the groceries away, the postie turns up. She says, "I don't actually have anything for you today." She says, but I knew that she had seen me, and so I didn't want to. So I knew she had seen me, and I didn't want her to think I had forgotten about her. And she was giving Zeffy a treat. And I just look at this dog of mine, and I go, "You are so spoiled." And all she does is she gently reaches up, gently takes the treat out of the lady's hand, goes and lays down and chomps on it. Oh my gosh, that is my dog. She is so spoiled. She's got the things worked out. And I thought, well, how did she see it? Because and Zeffy was up in the side window, and the door was open, and the screen was closed, but Zeffy was in the side window, and obviously she must have seen Zeffy in the mirrors or something, because she actually was driving past when she stopped and suddenly got out. So she must have seen Zeffie in the mirrors, because then Zeffie goes running to the screen door and gets her treat from the mail person. What do you know? Crazy dog. Um, so then, yeah, so, but today I had a major, major breakthrough on the genealogy thing. Um, Today I have got 4 great great grandparents to find out of 16. So I've now successfully found 12 out of 16 great great grandparents. Remember, on Friday I was at 4 out of 16 were done. So I've now found 12 out of 16. And what was bugging me over the weekend is that when I was working on this, I was just plowing away and getting through them and all that sort of stuff. And there was this one that was causing a bit of a stumbling block, because um, I knew I knew the maiden name of the person that the guy got married to. Could not find their wedding thing anywhere. Could not find any, and I knew roughly around the time they got married because I'd found it in other documents, um, like census reports. Census reports are wonderful. And one of the years, I think it was like 1890, I think it was, or 1900s. No, she had passed by 1900s. It must have been the 1890 census. It asked, how long they'd been married, and she put in there how many years they'd been married, and so I thought, okay, so it's got to be about this time, and then how long had she lived in the country, because she had actually been born in England, so on the census reports it said that she had been born in England and she had come over here, and of course one of the questions on that particular census was, how long have you been in, or what year did you arrive in England? So, and it had 1880 or consistently, or one had 1870, or the other ones had 1880. Um, and but what was interesting is that the census that followed after she had passed away, when it said, where was your mother born, and it because it puts the person's name, then it would ask, where were your parents born? They would say New York for both parents, which is what was throwing everything out. But the second I put that she had been born in England, boom, there was everything there. I was like, wow. And all of a sudden, so I came at it from a completely different thing. So I went back to the census reports that this couple had shown up in, and read all of the questions in the census reports, made sure I had all the information in there. And that's when I discovered when she was alive, because I'd been going off the ones when she had passed, after she had passed, that she was born in New York. But when I went to the ones when she was alive and it said that she was actually born in England, I said, like, oh my God. And as soon as I did that, boom, there was their marriage record right there. And then there was all the other information came up. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I got all this information. Yes. And now I've had, and so got that one done, got the next one done. So it just moved along very, very quickly after that. And then I got to, and this is where it was interesting, because we had one couple. There was 2 guys born around the same time. Both of them had the parents of the same name. The same parents' first names were the same. Oops, I've got to my phone off. Sorry, someone's trying to call me. Mute that. We had, so I'm looking for the great great grandparents, and there were 2 guys that were born around the same time that had different named wives, and everything, and this is what was snarling up this process with trying to find this woman who was born in England. When I eventually found her, I was like, yes. And I thought, well, this should be pretty easy. I mean, how many of them have the son that was born with this? Well, it turned out not only did the guys have the same first name and last name, they were both born within a year or 2 of each other. The woman that they married with 2 different names, which is what was screwing everything up, because everything was coming up underneath the other woman's name, not the one I was looking for. But they both had sons that they called the same first name, same middle initial. And I was sort of like, you have got to be kidding me. And so it was having to peel back the layers and be very careful. And this is where you've got to be careful about what you're looking for. So then what I've discovered afterwards is that when I had found the right people and got everything correct and got the names off the marriage licenses or who their parents were and all that sort of stuff, um, what was interesting is that because sometimes when you're doing when you're working in ancestry, they bring up the little green leaves. So, and the little green leaves when you got hints. So I go and look at the hints, and it says, oh, here's the family trees that have already been submitted, that people are working on, that they've got public, and this is the information they've got in there that matches your tree. It could be a match. Well, I go in there. These trees are completely screwed up because it would have the guy that I had, the great great grandfather I had, and his parents. It would have a different wife, and of course different sons or different kids. So they had more than one kid. This couple only had only had two. They only ever had two. So it had, I think it was George. Yeah, George. So we had George and Emma, and we had George and Flossie. Everybody kept putting George and Flossie, but George's parents were these parents over here. But everybody put George and Flossie, put the George and Flossie's parents as this. So George and Emma had George the George that married Emma had one set of parents. The other set of parents that kept the other tree, and they only had two children. And then she died in 1892. Then we had George and Flossie, same first names, married different women, and this couple over here with George and Flossie, she lived until like the 1930s. They had 4 children and all that, but when all the trees that were matching up, they were showing George and Flossie and their 4 children, but the parents for George that they had were the wrong ones. They had the parents of George and Emma over here. And I thought, well, maybe he got married again after Emma died, and that's where the Flossie pit comes in. So then I went back and found George and Emma and George and Flossie's marriage license. They got married within a year or two of each other, and the 2 Georges are within a year or two of each other. And I'm like, 2 completely different Georges. Yes, they all had the same last name, and it wasn't a very common name that they had. So I was sort of like, well, that's interesting. So this is where you've got to be very, very careful and when you're doing your research and you're looking at other people's trees, what information do they have? How many sources are they getting this information from? Because it's also too, you can tell those that have done a lot of research and those that have just copied from other ones, which is always a very interesting dynamic, a very interesting thing. So you have to be super, super careful. But I am super excited because I got past that roadblock today, moved on, got some others knocked out. Now I'm stuck on the last 4 great-great-grandparents. And my number 28 and 29 are giving me problems. I can find the son's information and his family's information. I cannot find his parents' information. I haven't looked for her parents yet. So I'm on the last set of great-grandparents looking for their parents. So I'm on to numbers 28, 29, 30, and 31, with number 1 being, so when you, I can't remember the name of the numbering system. There's a numbering system you can use where you can start with you at number 1 and just using parents only, no siblings in there, then you're number 1, your dad is number 2, your mother's number 3. Then your dad's parents are 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, no, 4 and 5, yeah. And then your mother's parents are 6 and 7. And then you just keep numbering that way. And you just, so if you're looking at your direct line, you just start number here and then it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. The women are always odd numbers, the men are always even numbers, unless, of course, the number 1 person is, the only time it's different is if the number 1 person happens to be a male. But as far as it goes with parents, when you start on that first generation where the parents are, then the grandparents and all that, the men are always even numbers, the women are always odd numbers. So yes, so it's been fun going through all of that, but having problems finding William's parents. Yeah, I will get there though. So I had to take a break. Brain was getting a little fried. It was time for lunch. Came back after lunch, still couldn't find William's parents. So that's where I'm at. I'm stuck on William's parents. Then I have to go find, let's see, I've got William's parents. What have I got here? And then I have to go find Catherine's parents. I know Catherine was born in Ireland. And on William's side, I found out his mother was born in Ireland. So William and Catherine got married. But he was born in New York. So, and his dad was born in New York. State, not city, state. Because they were all up from around the Rochester, most of these families come from around the Rochester area. So it's kind of interesting going through all of that and having a look. So, we should see. We will persevere. We will persevere. And of course, people have trees in there. And I go and have a look at the trees just to get some hints and ideas and see if there's a running theme through any of this. And I even found that Find a Grave has a lot of inconsistencies and errors there as well, because somebody will then turn around and go in and go, oh, well, here's this person here. This is who their spouse is. This is who their children were. This is who the spouse's parents were and all of that. And they're in completely different graveyards, which happens, but they're trying to make this link. And there was one where I found the right grave for the person I was looking for, because I knew that's where he was buried, because I found his obituary and it said that was the date, and that, this is his birth date, this is his death date, this is where he's getting buried. He was 78 years old, he's getting buried in 2 days at this particular cemetery and all that. So all of that lined up with that person, and his wife was there, and his wife joined him there a few years later. But the kids that they had listed were not their kids. It was not their parents that was listed there on the Find a Grave thing in the comments area. So somebody is, I don't know how they verify those records or anything, but somebody is not doing a good job at policing some of that, because I'm now finding a lot of inconsistencies even with the Find a Graves when people are connecting up people from different things. Because I happen to know that the couple that I was looking at where it had the husband and wife in the same grave, that the children listed were not their children to start with. Their children were also buried at the same cemetery. Well, the children they had listed were not buried in that cemetery at all. And the only reason I know that is because I came across the obituaries. So not only did I have the death certificates for some of these people, I also have the obituaries for these people from the actual newspaper that shows their lineage in there, because it says, son of or daughter of this person survived by who they survived by, and that sort of thing. So it's very interesting. You got to be very, very careful at the records that you're looking at, and remember that things like Find a Grave are done by volunteers who have good hearts. And the thing I like about Find a Grave is they actually take photographs of that people go through, and taking photographs of the headstones and loading up the headstones into there. And some of them, all they do is they just write out the information that's on the headstone for the person that's there, or they go get the plot records. From the office at the cemetery. You can go get the plot records and find out who's actually in that plot, because sometimes you can have a headstone there that just might have the family name on it, and you're like, okay, here's the family plot, but who the heck's in there? So you go up to the office and you ask them for a copy of the record of the plot record, and they will print that off for you, and then you can see who's listed in there. And there's been a few times where we've gone, my mum and I, when I first started doing genealogy, and I was helping my mum, and we would go into the office, the cemetery office there, or down to the county office, depending on where we were, ask for a copy of the plot record. And the tombstone would say one person was in there, but when we got the plot record, there would be like 3 or 4 people in there. But they're not listed anywhere on the tombstones or the gravestones. So plot records are very good, because then it's sort of like, okay, who are these people? And it gives you somebody else to go research, because you're sort of like, all right, well, my great-great-grandmother is in this grave, and there's like 3 other people in there with her. Who are these other people? And we actually found out. There was this one funny story. I got to tell the story because it's really funny. So, was it my great-great-grandmother? I think it was her. Yes, because I think that's one that they're in the plot. So they're in the cemetery in Wellington. We got the copy of the plot records and stuff, and found out that there was a son-in-law she could not stand. She did not like the guy that her daughter got married to at all. No, didn't like him. There was always rumors in the family that they always, and she had left specific instructions that she had bought this plot for the family. It was only to be for her children only. No spouses allowed in there. She was very specific on, and yet the one son-in-law she could not stand got buried in there with her. I was cracking up laughing. I wonder if she came back and haunted the rest of the family for that one. So so yes, you will find surprises in plot things because as soon as when we got the record and Mum's just reading down the names and then she went, oh no. I go, what? And she goes, see this name here? I go, yep. I said, well, who is that? And so she explained the relationship to the family and all that. And she says, my grandmother couldn't stand the guy. She said she absolutely hated him. She detested him and left him strict instructions that only her daughter was allowed to be buried there, not the son-in-law. And he's in there with them. And so I was like, well, I guess the family had their say and was like, screw what Mum's wishes are. We need a plot. This one's got space. We're putting him in there. So you never know what's going to happen. You never know what you're going to find. And that's one thing I love about genealogy. It really is a treasure hunt. And you get all these mysteries and intrigue, and sometimes you find murder stories in there. Sometimes you'll find other stories where you've got convicts in there, like my great great uncle, who was quite a character during World War II and before and after, and got arrested on all sorts of charges. He was like the worst landlord ever. He would actually harass his tenants and go into their apartments when they weren't there and move stuff around, check stuff out, steal stuff from their apartments, rattle their door handles when they were there. He literally terrorized his apartment renters. It's all written there in this book with all these list of charges and stuff that he was brought up. And he was a Nazi sympathizer during World War II, and he was in Australia. So he was supposedly keeping money for the Nazis, and he was embezzling that and spending it off somewhere else. And oh my gosh, he was quite the character. And he happens to be my great great uncle. I'm sort of like, it's a little scary, but you have no control over who's in your tree. Who's in your tree is who's in your tree, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can not talk about them, but when people are researching the trees, they're gonna pop up. These people are going to pop up in your trees, and you can't deny that they're part of your family if you've got all the records and all the records match up and everything else. And so you can't deny that they're part of the family. They're part of your history. They're part of your makeup. You can be thankful that you're not a direct descendant from these people. That they're off on the sidelines somewhere. So you can be thankful for that. But if you do have connections to some interesting characters along the way, there's nothing you can do about your history. You can't change it. You can't get upset about it. You can't get mad about it because it's already happened. It's already been and gone. So that's it from me for today. I got to go get ready. I got to go take Zeffy for a walk, get ready for another call. And so have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys tomorrow, because tomorrow is Tune Up Tuesday. Woohoo! Get more tunes on tomorrow. What tunes were you listening to today? So Tune Up Tuesday tomorrow. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you then. Hei konara.